for tuning in to the Wing Space podcast. This podcast is not a replacement for mental health treatment or professional health care. In case of crisis or emergency, please contact your local healthcare provider or dial 911.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Wing Space podcast. Today we're going to talk about healthy habits and how to maintain in the midst of the craziness of the season.
It's that time of year to harness your holiday cheer with Hope and Healing at our latest wellness workshop. Join your fellow Southern Maryland community members at Hope and Healing in Leonardtown on Friday, November 17th from 6 to 7:30. We'll be learning new ways to harness your holiday cheer and create your very own custom aromatherapy blends to bring out your inner Cindy Lou Who and enjoy the holidays. On-site childcare will be provided for $5 a child, and registration is required. So sign up today by visiting our website, hopehealingtherapy.com, or visiting our link in bio on Instagram at Hope Healing Therapy Wellness.
In our most recent couple of episodes, we have been talking about, or will talk about, various different habits and the importance of those things. But today we're just going to kind of dive into how to maintain over the course of the next several weeks, because let's see, I'm recording this on November 2nd. So 2 days ago was Halloween. So I would say probably a week or so ago, for most of us, the quote holiday season really kicked off with kind of the crazy and the busy and the hurried and the harried aspects of our lives. So I want you to just consider what these next 2-ish months are going to look like and how you want to feel when it's all said and done. I don't want folks that I work with, my clients, I don't want my friends and my family, and I certainly don't want for myself to get to January 5th or, the first week of January and say, "Shoo, glad that's over." What I want is that there's this big buildup of fun and festive opportunities, and then it kind of slowly fades away, and we're like, wow, that was amazing. So in doing that, the first thing that I invite you to do is to consider what your expectations are. Maybe even take a couple of minutes to imagine in your mind what you want this holiday season to look like. Now let's be realistic. It's going to look something like Home Alone versus a Hallmark movie, somewhere realistically in the middle. My hope for you is that everything doesn't go wrong, such as Home Alone. But I also hope that your expectation is not the Hallmark movie where everything is perfect. And that you can consider somewhere in the middle where not everything's going to be perfect, but it's going to be perfectly imperfect. And not everything is going to be smooth sailing, but at least you have a plan and you have support, and at the end of the day, you can sit back and look at pictures of and talk about the fun that was the holiday season. I'm not quite sure of the schedule as I'm talking to you, but I know that there has been or will be published an episode on healthy eating habits over the course of the holidays, as well as grief during the holidays. And so I recognize that for some of you, this may be a blue Christmas season. And for some of you, it may not be exciting to think about what's coming. But I invite you to create the holiday season that is best for you right now. So take a couple of minutes, maybe you pause the episode and just consider. Maybe you find a quiet place to sit. If you're walking, maybe you just kind of ponder as you're walking. But take a few minutes and just think about, as we enter into Thanksgiving, as we enter into the Christmas, the Hanukkah, the various various holidays that end our year, what does it look like? Who's around you? What are the sights? What are the decorations? What are the smells? How does it feel? Physically, how does it feel? Emotionally, how does it feel? So consider that. Consider it with a realistic expectation. Again, somewhere in a happy medium between Home Alone, chaos where everything goes wrong, and that Hallmark movie where everything is picture perfect. And knowing what that vision is, knowing what those realistic expectations are, you can then plan ahead. So again, I'm recording this November 2nd. I actually spent some time this morning looking ahead at the month of November and the month of December. I actually have a calendar that gives me a Christmas season checklist inside the beginning of the calendar. That it's the first time I've used this planner for the at all, so it's kind of new for this season. But it has a list of things that you might consider doing. Things like baking and decorating. So I actually looked at my calendar and I thought, okay, so what's happening over the course of the next couple of weeks? I started with Thanksgiving, family coming into town, who's coming to visit, where are we traveling, what traditions do we have that I need to make space for? What traditions maybe are going to look different this year, and where do they fit on the calendar? Going into December, considering what are the things that I'm going to say yes to. We potentially could say yes to so many things. One of the things that I enjoy doing, but I don't often do, is going to those like holiday bazaar craft show vendor event things. So I actually spent some time this morning just going through local events on Facebook and kind of put on the calendar the events that are happening, not because I'm going to go to all of them, but so that if I'm looking at my calendar and I see that there's something happening on an upcoming Saturday or a Sunday and I don't already have plans, I can plan to put that into my weekend if I want to. Rather than at 4 o'clock on a Sunday go, oh man, that thing was today, and now I have a feeling of disappointment. So putting things on the calendar, you don't have to maybe share it with the whole family so that everyone feels like the whole next 2 months are scheduled and planned out. But for you, you can kind of have an idea of what's coming. What are the events that are in the future that we need to potentially make space for? And consider the things that you want to do and that your family wants to do, and make time for them so that they are not feeling like they're have-tos, and rather they feel like they're get-tos. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that we have done with our kiddos since they were little guys is that we have made gingerbread houses. And in recent years, I'll be very honest with you, it has started to feel more like a have to, and it turns into a little bit of like a bickering of evening. And my kids don't know this yet, but I want to change that tradition and make it a bit more fun. Maybe invite a couple of their friends or girlfriends to come join us and to make it more of an event rather than just a check in the box, the gingerbread houses are made. And so I started to look ahead at the calendar at what's going on in December and when do we want to make that happen. I usually don't do much Christmas baking, but I think this year maybe I do. So I'm going to look ahead. I have looked ahead at the calendar, and I'm going to say, okay, when is this going to fit in? Christmas celebrations or holiday celebrations with family and friends. Where do they go on the calendar? and putting them on the calendar so that I know, and then giving myself permission. Hear that again. Giving myself permission to say no to some things. We want to say yes to everything. We want to attend all the events. We want to enjoy all of the things. But then we are resentful, we are bitter, we're tired, and it's just not fun because it feels like have tos instead of get tos. So maybe what you do is you go back and you look at 2022, Thanksgiving to Christmas season, and you consider what were the things that we did last year and what are the things that we are going to do or want to do this year. Maybe there was something that happened last year that you didn't get to do, but that the family wanted to do. So we're going to put that on the calendar. We're going to figure out the date for that. We're going to put it on the calendar, and then we're going to work around that. I'll be honest that kind of our central thing that we're planning around is my mom's family has always done Christmas Eve together. It's a 30-ish, 5-year, I don't know, tradition. And last year, we did the Christmas Eve not on Christmas Eve celebration. So that date has been plugged into the calendar for a year, pretty much. So I've got that kind of as my hub, and then I plan out from there. So it's the weekend before Christmas, so not the 23rd, 24th, but that weekend before. And then everything else kind of is going to splinter out from there, because I know that that's something that I'm hosting. There's going to be a lot happening. So, Friday night, I'm probably not going to want to do much because I'm going to be preparing for that. Sunday, I'm probably not going to want to do much because I'm going to be exhausted from that in a fun, festive way. So, I don't want to say, okay, we're going to do the baking on Friday night, or we're going to do gingerbread on Sunday, because realistically, I know that that's not going to happen, right? Friday night is going to be preparation. Sunday might be a great time for us to plan. Hear me. Sunday might be a great time for us to plan to have a pajama day and watch Christmas movies and drink hot chocolate and just have a day at home. With any luck, maybe it'll snow, right? So looking at what are we fitting into the calendar? Do we like to drive around and look at Christmas lights? When are we going to put Christmas decorations up? And I will say that I am speaking from the traditions and holidays that I celebrate. So I mean no disrespect to folks that may not celebrate the holidays that I'm referencing, but I encourage you to consider how your own traditions might fall into these next couple of months. So no disrespect, but I'm speaking from my own experience and what my own traditions and examples can be. But it's not too late to look ahead and say, Thanksgiving's coming. I have family in town. So what are those handful of days going to look like? We have a tradition where our anniversary is the 27th of November. So we always go away for a night and we go shopping, get like 75% of our shopping done. It's really cool. My husband and I, we have dinner. So it's a cool tradition that we've had for, we're coming up on 19 years. So it's probably close to like 17-ish years that we've done this. And it's great because everybody knows that this is what we do in the family. And, this year it's going to look a little different, but it's still going to be done. So I know that that weekend after Thanksgiving is a weekend that's dedicated to Christmas shopping and to anniversary celebration. So what does the rest of that week look like? I'm going to plan ahead for that so that come Sunday, the 19th of November, I'm not going, holy cow, what are we doing this week, right? I already know. I'm already planning the menu. I'm already figuring out who's bringing what to Thanksgiving dinner loosely. I don't have it all scheduled, but I'm planning ahead so that as we get closer, it's not so hurried and harried. When am I going to wrap presents? When am I going to decorate the house? What are we going to have for certain dinners? Maybe if I have a weekend coming soon where I don't have a lot going on, I'm going to plan ahead for some dinners. Maybe I'm going to make a couple of lasagnas and stick them in the freezer. And then I'm going to put it on my calendar for December 21st that, lasagna out of freezer. And on the 22nd, we're going to have lasagna because I planned ahead knowing that those days leading up to Christmas are going to be crazy and busy. Same thing for the week of Thanksgiving. Do I really want to cook dinner on Tuesday or Wednesday night knowing that there's this big feast to prepare on Thursday? Probably not. So maybe I'm going to put together a crock-pot meal or a casserole of some sort now that I can have available in that week before. Consider what has to go on the calendar, what gets to go on the calendar, and then how do we work around that? So planning ahead. I know some of you are thinking, Jen, we are not planners. We are not like you. We do not have our lists. But trust me when I say that it's going to make things a little easier if you just loosely plan ahead. Not strict, not stringent, just loosely plan ahead. Now, when you are looking ahead and you're planning, one of the things that sometimes happens is that our usual habits and routines fall by the wayside. So the things that we do on any given day that help us to feel good, I call those our preventative coping skills, our healthy habits. Those things sometimes go by the wayside because there's just so much to do. We've talked before, and we will talk more because I think it's so important about creating habits and routines, putting our body into routines, our physical body, just in the same way that we have the circadian rhythm that tells us when we wake and when we sleep and when we eat and when we rest. Getting into those other routines for what we do in the morning and what we do in the evening can be super, super helpful. And it's even more helpful when we're in a season of busyness. I would encourage you to consider your bookend habits. What does your morning look like? What does your evening look like? I know for me, my morning routine is something that throws off the whole day if I don't do it. And it has looked different over the course of time. So I'm going to speak to what it looks like now in this season that I am in. And I'm going to share it with you, not because I want to invite you to have the same habit and routine, because everyone's is different. But I want to share with you so that you can understand the importance of having a habit and a routine. So I'm getting up somewhere between 5 and 5:30. I realize that not mornings are not for everyone, and trust me, mornings used to not be for me. But for now, and I'm going to explain this, it's what I need. So I get up, I go work out in our basement. Shout out to my husband, great gym in the basement. So I work out in our basement. Then I come upstairs, usually about the same time that my husband is coming out of the bedroom from getting ready. So he's, doing coffee and breakfast and watching the news and all that stuff. So I will either sit down and start some of my morning stuff, or full disclosure, I will wait until it's quiet in the house because that's kind of like this beautiful moment in my day. So I will, make sure the teenage boys are awake. I'll get myself ready. And then about 7:15-ish, everyone's out of the house. And I don't have to leave until 8 most mornings. So I will sit down. I will read my morning verse. I will say my prayers. I will do a little reading. I will do a little planning for the day in terms of, okay, what's happening. Now, last night, I've already looked ahead at what today looks like so that I have an understanding of what my time schedule is. So I'm already on that schedule, right? I'm already loosely, not strict, but I'm loosely holding on to that schedule of what things need to look like. And I'm having a few moments. I'm gratitude journaling. I'm saying my prayers. I'm just spending a few minutes kind of getting myself ready for the day. And then off I go. Now, there are some mornings, especially on the weekends, when the routine looks different, or if I hit snooze and I can't get that workout in, that I feel different all day long. I just feel like I've missed something. I feel like there's a piece of the puzzle that didn't get put in. I feel like the tank is low. For me, if that morning habit doesn't happen, that bookend routine in the morning doesn't happen, I feel off all day. I've even at times brought my devotion with me to work and during the course of the day I've done my devotion, so that is kind of a checkbox, right? The devotion is done, but it's not in that same routine, and it still feels off for me. So I know going into the holiday season, I need to make sure that that morning routine stays. It might look a little different. It might not include all of the parts depending on what the day looks like. But I know that now, before we've gotten into the hustle and bustle of the season, I feel kind of undone if I don't do that routine. That going into the holiday season and when things are super, super busy and chaotic, if I don't do it, it's going to feel more like I'm missing something. So it's preventative, and it's also part of my intervention coping skills, because I know that I'm preventing the chaos from being too much, and I'm also using it. I might even dig into it a little bit more because I'm using it as an intervention because I know that things are crazy and busy. My evening routine tends to be a little bit more flexible and more fluid, but for you, the evening routine might be where it's at, so that you're not running, and then plopping and falling into bed with things that are undone. My loose evening routine kind of involves this idea of checking in on the schedule for tomorrow, maybe doing a little bit of reading, and then kind of, prayers and off to bed I go. I know that there's going to be some nights in the coming weeks that we're out late and I just head right to bed, or, I'm wrapping presents until I can't keep my eyes open, and, it's off to bed I go, and that's okay. But I'm going to do all that I can in terms of having my healthy habits in place, those bookend routines, so that my body knows what to expect and there's some rhythm and routine to it. The last thing I want to encourage you, and again, this is not new information if you've been listening to the podcast for a bit, but there's a handful of things that are musts, and they're even bigger musts during the holiday season. The first one is sleep. Now, in the coming weeks, there's going to be a couple of episodes that I talk about sleep. So if some of you are going, yeah, right, I don't sleep now, I certainly am not sleeping during the holidays, hold on, because there's an episode or two coming for you. But it is vital that we let our bodies get rest. We have to sleep. Those presents that you think have to be wrapped tonight probably can wait till tomorrow. And maybe they go in a gift bag with some tissue paper instead of a fancy wrapping and bow, because we chose to get sleep instead of guilting ourselves into staying awake and doing the wrapping. Sleep is so important. And sometimes what we have to do is we have to plan what our sleep routine looks like. We have to say, okay, I have to get up. I get to get up at this time tomorrow. I need my 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, whatever it is. And so this is the time that I get to go to sleep tonight. We have to plan ahead for that. The thing about sleep is that we can't bank it. So if I get 10 hours of sleep today and, 4 hours of sleep tomorrow, I haven't gotten 7 hours of sleep over the course of 2 days. I've gotten probably too much sleep today and not enough sleep tomorrow, and it's going to take me a few days for that to even itself out. But we can get rest when we can get rest. So make sure, I encourage and invite you to make sure that you're making sleep a priority. And stay tuned, because like I said, there's more episodes coming on that. You also have to make sure, I want you to consider and remember that your body is a machine. This means we have to feed and fuel it properly. Go ahead and take a listen to the holiday healthy eating podcast episode. We have to make sure that we are fueling our bodies with good, healthy food, and we are staying hydrated. On that note, I'm taking a drink. Why don't you take one too? When we get dehydrated, we are sluggish, our head hurts, our bodies aren't functioning the way that they're supposed to. When we're not fueling our bodies the way that our bodies need, we're not optimizing all that we have to be able to do all the things that we get to do. So feeding and fueling your body is so important. The next thing that's really important is movement. If you are already in a routine of exercising every day, continue to do that and make space for that as the holidays come. If you're not in a habit of doing that, I invite you to consider how you can do that. Not out of a means of guilt or shame or blame, but out of a means of there's no time like the present to get started in moving your body. It can be as simple as, but as effective as taking a walk. Now, I know that it is chilly. Here in Maryland, it literally, I'm not kidding you, went from 80 degrees on Monday to 30s last night. This weather is unbelievable. So yesterday, I wasn't feeling an outside walk. But when my husband and my kids said that they were going to the gym after dinner, I went ahead and walked on the treadmill. I did 30 minutes, and then I sat and read my book for the rest of the time that they were still working out. It felt good. I got my steps in. I got my workout in the morning. But I moved my body. So I invite you to consider how you can move your body. Continue to keep all of the systems working well when we add the stress of the holiday season. And the last thing I invite you to consider is quiet time. There's so much noise in our lives on a regular day. There's all the technology. I mean, in my office right now, there's so much noise, even though it's quiet. I have my air purifier, I have my noise machine, the computer's making some noise, right? There's so much noise, even if it's white noise. Then we have people, we have social media, we have the TV, we have the radio, we have the hustle and bustle of the cars, right? On any given day. You throw in the noise of the holiday season, and our brains get on overload. They get on complete overload. So treasure the moments, even if it's just 90 seconds. Treasure the moments that you can sit and you can have quiet. Not scrolling on social media, not watching Netflix. No one else is home in the house and that's your quote quiet time. Just sitting and being present with yourself and breathing. 90 seconds doesn't seem like a very long time, but it can be a really long time. So in about 10 seconds, we're going to sit for 90 seconds. Don't fast forward. Hang tight with me. And I just want you to breathe. I just want you to breathe. Here we go. All right, so welcome back. I hope that you took those 90 seconds to breathe and to just be. I hope that you did not fast forward past them. And if you did, I invite you to go back. But find moments where you can be still and you can be quiet. If you are in a practice of meditation, do that. If you're in a practice of prayer, do that. If you're in a practice of just sitting and being, do that. And if you're not in a practice of doing any of those things, go back to those 90 seconds and just be. It can be in your car before you go in after a long day of work. It can be in your car before you go into the office in the morning or before you pick up your kiddos. Just find a minute and a half or 2 or 5 or 10 to be quiet and to not have our brains filled with all that stuff.
Hey listeners, quick intermission with one of our providers at Hope and Healing, Kristen Wilson, LCSWC, who has started offering a new program at Hope and Healing for our couples called Prepare and Enrich. So Kristen, could you give us a little more information about that program?
Prepare and Enrich is a service that we'll be offering to premarital couples. It is a strength-based program that utilizes assessment portion and then subsequent sessions to look at that assessment and discuss what are your strengths, what are the areas of growth, what are conversations that you'd like to have as you are leading up to and preparing for marriage. One of the nice things about Prepare and Enrich is that it covers not only a wide variety of areas, but it can be utilized with couples that are in different stages of life as well. So maybe this is your first marriage. Maybe it is a blending of families that come into play when you are preparing for this. So the idea is that we can support you in that process and support you in having conversations with your partner and planning ahead for success.
And if someone is listening and is interested in seeking out this service for themselves and their partner, how could they go about inquiring or scheduling an appointment?
Contact us at Hope and Healing. You can go to the website and send us your information and we'll get back with you, or you can give us a call and we'll get you scheduled. There's more than one option when it comes to utilizing this program. This is a set group of sessions. So you will either be choosing to engage in 4 sessions or 8 sessions, depending on what your needs are, what your interests are, and what works for you. The assessment is part of both of those. The skill building, the recognizing our growth areas and working on those are included in both of those sets. So you will get that experience, but just the timing of it might look different depending on your needs.
Yes, so you can give us a call at 301-690-8404 extension 0. If you get the voicemail, make sure that you leave us one so that we can give you a call back within 24 hours. You can also visit our website, like Kristen mentioned, at hopehealingtherapy.com.
So I hope that these ideas were helpful to you. I hope that you can look at the upcoming holiday season with anticipation and with realistic expectation and with hope and with a little bit of childhood excitement of the opportunities to make memories, to laugh, to have joy, to spend time with friends and family, and to be grateful for the day that we have and the opportunities that we have. Thanks for listening and have a great day.